Hello and welcome to TD's Pokemon Lair. I'm TD and this is my lair. Today we're unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards I sent to PSA about a year ago. Got them back in this box, professionally packaged. Let me get them out of the box and let's see what grades we got. Alright, let's go. This is a 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Blaine's Doduo, a first edition, the number 61st card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, is very clean. I do not see any scratches, bends, or creases, or any problems on the surface. Looking at her centering from left to right, it's towards the right a little bit, and centering from top to bottom looks a little bit towards the top. Looking at the corners on her edges, I do not see any damage. Flipping this card over, you can look at the back, and we'll start with the centering from left to right is slightly towards the left. Looking at it from top to bottom, our centering I think possibly could be slightly towards the top, but maybe not out of the tolerance for the back. Looking at it, our surface, it is just like the front, it's free of any creases, bends, or any damage to the graphics. Looking at our corners and our edges, they're actually really clean for their back of a card. And that's going to get us a grade of mid 9. That's pretty darn good. We are looking at a 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Blaine's Growlithe, a first edition, the number 62 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, the graphics are really bright and clean. There's no scratches, creases, or bends on the surface of this card. Looking at our centering from left to right and top to bottom, I think those all look really nice. And looking at our corners and our edges, I do not see any damage there at all. Flipping this card over and looking at the back, you can see that our surface is free of any creases, bends, or any other damage to our graphics, and they look really clean. Looking at our centering from left to right, it's towards the left a little bit. Centering from top to bottom, I think it's close to the tolerance or within it. Looking at our corners and our edges, the upper left corner has some slight damage. And with all that, they're going to give us a grade of mid 9. Man, those are pretty good. Check out this 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Blaine's Mankey, a first edition, the number 63 card of this set. Looking at the front surface of the card, is very clean. I don't see any dirt, damage, creases, or bends. Our centering from left to right and top to bottom I think is all really close to the tolerances or within. Looking at our corners and our edges, I do not see any damage. Looking at the back of the card, you can see our surface is free of any creases, bends, or any other damage to the graphics. Our centering from left to right and top to bottom I think is all close to the tolerances or within. Looking at our corners and our edges, the only thing I can see is some upper right corner slight damage. And we will receive a grade of mid 9. Man, I'll take those all day long. You're looking at a 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Blaine's Ponyta, a first edition, the number 64 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's very clean. There's no scratches, creases, or bends, or any other problems on the surface of this card. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, left to right, I think those are within the tolerances for the front. Looking at our corners and our edges, I do not see any damage. Looking to the back of the card, you can see that our surface is nice and bright. There's no dirt, damage, creases, or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think that's within the tolerance, but the left to right, I think it's slightly towards the left. And looking at our corners and our edges, there's some damage on that upper left corner. And we're going to get a grade of mid 9. Man, that's pretty darn good. We are looking at this 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Blaine's Rhyhorn, a first edition, the number 65 card of the set. The front of this card is very clean. There's no scratches, creases, or bends. Our centering from top to bottom, left to right, I think is all within the tolerances. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think they are free of any damage. As we turn this card over and take a look at the back, you can see that our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think is all within the tolerance for the back. Our surface is free of any creases, bends, or other damage. Graphics look nice and clean. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think they're pretty clean also. This probably will be a good card. And the grade we're going to get is a Gym Mint 10. Awesome. I love it. Here's a 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Blaine's Vulpix, a first edition, the number 66 card. Looking at the front of this card, I do not see any damage to the surface like creases, bends, or scratches. Our graphics are very clean. Looking at our centering from left to right, I think it's slightly towards the right, and our centering from top to bottom looks a little towards the top. Looking at the corners and edges for any damage, I do not see any. Let's look at the back of the card, and we'll start with our surface. It is free of any creases, bends, or damage. The graphics look great. Looking at our centering from left to right, I think it's slightly towards the left. Our centering from top to bottom looks a little towards the top. Looking at the corners and the edges, I think they're pretty darn clean. And we're going to get a grade of near mint 8. That should have been a 9, I think. I think they graded it a little low. Let's look at this 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Brock's Diglett, a first edition, the number 67 card of the set. Looking at the front of this card, it looks really clean at first glance. There's no creases, bends, or any other damage right on the surface of the card. Looking at our centering from left to right and top to bottom, I think the top to bottom is slightly towards the top. Left to right, I think, is pretty good or within the tolerances. Looking at our corners and our edges, if you look at that lower left corner, there is a ding or dent right on the corner. As we look at the back of the card, you can see that our centering from left to right and top to bottom, I think it's all within the tolerances. Looking at our surface, it is free of any damage, creases, or bends. Looking at our corners and our edges, the lower right corner has some damage that is corresponding to that dent on the front. And we're going to get a grade of excellent, mint 6. Wow, that little ding took us down quite a bit. Here is a 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Box Geodude, a first edition, the number 68 card. Looking at the front of this card, it's very clean. Geodude's graphics are nice and bright and clean. Our surface is free of any creases or bends. Looking at our centering from left to right and top to bottom, I think those are all within the tolerances. Looking at our corners and our edges, I do not see any damage that will affect a grade. Flipping the card over, we'll check out the surface of the card, and it is free of any creases, bends, or other damage. Our centering from left to right and top to bottom, I think, is all within the tolerances. And finally, looking at our corners and our edges, they're pretty darn clean. I think this will be a great card. And the grade they're going to give us is a Gym Mint 10. That's a really darn good card. Awesome. Let's check out this 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Erica's Jigglypuff, a first edition, the number 69 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, the graphics are nice and bright. The front is free of any creases or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think the top to bottom is slightly towards the top. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think they're free of any damage. Taking a look at the back of the card, our surface is free of any creases or bends. There's no problems on the graphics. Looking at our centering from left to right and top to bottom, I think the top to bottom is slightly towards the top. Left to right looks pretty good. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think they're pretty clean and free of any damage. And we'll get a grade of mint 9. I like it, and that's my story. You are looking at a 2000 Pokemon Gym Challenge Erica's Oddish, a first edition, the number 70 card of the set. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that it's very clean. There's no problems on the graphics. Our surface has no creases or bends. Our centering from left to right is slightly towards the right. Our centering from top to bottom is really close to the tolerance or within. Looking at our corners and our edges, I do not see any damage at all. Let's look at the back of the card, and we'll start with our surface. There's no creases, bends, or any damage to the graphics. Our centering from left to right is towards the left quite a bit. Our centering from top to bottom is slightly towards the top. Looking at our corners and our edges, the upper right corner has some damage to it. And we should receive a grade of mint 9. I'll take it. I hope you enjoyed this video and the cards I presented. Please like and subscribe, and always remember, you gotta catch them all. Have a great day.